Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Troll.
(1973 to 1976). Welcome back, baseball fans. The 1973-76 Carryover League. We are in our final postseason matchup for the final spot in the playoff field of 12 in the National League. We saved the best matchup for last. We have the Phillies and the Mets today. Let's show you the tournament. And as we reach our conclusion of the tournament for the playoffs begin, the recent activity, here we are. The 3-game eliminations, which takes us from 16 teams to 12, which takes us from 8-7-6-5 to just 6-5. We have seen the road Pirates take 2 straight versus the Giants, knocking out the team with the best record to this point. We saw the Ohio players continue to play over their heads and be Cinderella in the American League, now 5 over 500. We saw the Twins expose Boston's flaws, beating them 2 straight as the Twins return to their early season form, advancing. Which leaves us with the Mets-Phillies battling in a best of 3 and not to be a wild card team. They actually both are a half a game behind the Atlanta Braves, who are in first place. And the Atlanta Braves, who are in first place, are watching TV, and they can't win their division. The Braves can't win the division because the winner of Mets-Phillies wins the National League East. The loser goes home. The Braves just default to the wild card team. Advantages all the way around. The Braves don't have to play this game, number one, so they're not going to play for elimination. The Braves can push their pitching staff into a more advantageous spot. And the Mets and Phillies have to go to war with each other. If you're wondering about why not the Braves, it's because the Mets have tiebreakers versus the Braves. The Phils do as well. If one of these teams were to win the series 2 straight, they'd have a better record than the Braves. Moreover, if the teams just take 2 out of 3, they'd be tied with the Braves, but both the Mets and Phillies have the tiebreakers. Interesting about that, too, is that the last time we saw the Braves and Phillies, and it was, here. The Braves beat them 5-2, right? So you're thinking they get home, they have the head-to-head. They actually don't. Even after beating Philadelphia 5 out of 7 times, the Phillies had beaten Atlanta 4 straight the first time they met. So the Phils have a small little head-to-head advantage, which gives them the tiebreaker. So this will win the East. Let's look at the overall standings, actually. The Reds are the number 1, and the Dodgers are 6 over, presently at number 2, rooting for a 2-1 scenario. Then we'll have to look at a tiebreaker to see if they can hold and get the bye. If it's a 2-1 scenario, they have a chance of getting the bye. Arizona is at the 4 presently. And the Braves are at +6, but they have to fall into the wild card. Phillies and Mets are tied. We have to show you what happened in Game 1 now. We have a great battle of lefties. Jerry Koosman versus Steve Carlton. If you're wondering, the Mets were pushed to the limit against the Pirates, having to beat them 4 out of 5 times they did. But it meant that Matlack and Seaver, Matlack wouldn't be available for this series, and Seaver is only available for Game 3. So that's okay. They still have Jerry Koosman in Game 1 on the road against Steve Carlton. And as predicted, 2 teams who are kind of mirrors of each other, struggling to produce They put runners on base, as both teams are known to do. Phils have a little bit more power. Mets have a little bit more on base through walks, but not as many batting averages. Phils overall have a better offense. Mets have a better pitching staff. It's a moot point as we go through 6 scoreless innings. 7th inning, though, we get a ground ball to Wayne Garrett, who's a reasonable third baseman. He's a 3.17. That's not too bad. But he makes an error. After 2 outs, Tony Taylor gets a double off of the Kuzman card, followed by a 2-out single by Greg Lucinski. It's 2-zip. They're unearned runs. Bottom of the 8th, Kuzman's left in. Denny Doyle, lefty batter, and Kuzman's very good against lefties. Doesn't matter. Denny Doyle gets an RBI single off his own card. That's 3 runs. And meanwhile, lefty's looking like vintage lefty Steve Carlton. And that's been not necessarily what we've seen all year. Carlton from 73 to 76 is not nearly as good as he would be prior to that with the Cardinals and Phillies, nor later on with the Phillies in 80 and 81 when they our playoff team. 83 World Series as well. Carlton was in that. But it is a 3-0 final for the home team. I guess one would project that the teams would, play to home field, maybe, and then we get a rubber match. That can still happen. Carlton, 7-hit shutout, 4 walks, 6 Ks. Kuzman gets a complete game loss, 8 innings, 10 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. The Mets reached base 11 times, didn't score. Phillies reached 13 times, scored 3 times, but aided by an error. And that's the advantage the Phillies have. Now, the problem with the Mets is that they are because of the number of games they've played, they're in the scenario they didn't want to be into, which is their number 4 starter has to take the hill in an elimination game. So let's just kind of go right into that now, since we have to introduce the pitchers before we play game 2. For the Phillies, it's going to be Wayne Twitchell. Twitchell, the number 2 starter in 73, 13-game winner, 2.50 ERA in 223 innings. He's done very well. Very steady pitcher. Don't like the walk on 5-7 on both sides of the card. He's got to avoid walking guys. And speaking of that, let's introduce the Mets' number 4 starter. He was a free agent. He was actually available in the draft and was drafted by the Mets, and it is Dennis Blair. Dennis Blair had some nice numbers in 1974 for the Expos. 11-7, a 3.27 ERA in 146 innings. And frankly, it was a case during the draft where the Mets viewed Dennis Blair as the best pitcher available. Don't know why such a quality starter 7 would be out there when so many other teams were looking for pitching, so the Mets thought they'd be hoarding by taking him, going outside the organization. That is surprising, because in their own organization, the Mets would have Craig Swan they could have taken. They had Randy Tate. They had Hank Webb, amongst others. But Blair has had mixed results this year. He's been really, really good and really, really bad. Blair threw a complete game shutout this year. Amazing. Blair also got knocked out with 9 runs early in 3 or 4 inning start. So it's been a mixed bag for Dennis Blair. This is the gamble that the Mets sort of fell into at the worst time. But they got a bullpen they think they could use. They only have 1 lefty in it, though. They have Scarce, a lefty. Carruthers is a righty reliever, is good against lefties. Blair dominates righties, obviously, and they have to lean on that. So the Phils are going to lean on all their lefties they can. They've actually inserted the maximum number of lefties into the lineup they have, which is Boa and McCarver and Jay Johnstone and Gary Thomason and Denny Doyle. Mets are the underdog, but they've been the underdog. They took 4 out of 5 against the Pirates. They ran out of starch, I guess, in game 1. They're hoping that for a little bit of rejuvenation today. They'd hate to lose 2 straight to the Phillies. Phillies beat them 4-2 before the All-Star break. A tiebreaker between these teams is not necessary because the winner of the series would be at least 1 full game ahead. We only use the tiebreaker if it's between a half game or tied. And that's why this is a winner-take-all series. Game 2, can the Mets force a Game 3, which would be back in Philadelphia? Leading off for the Phillies, it'll be Larry Boa. 2-9 pops to first. McCarver, 111. Strikeout plus injury. There's a break. So the lefty catcher has to exit. Bob Boone will just take that spot in the lineup. Get a better defensive catcher. And Greg Luzinski. 2-4, flies left. Bottom of the first for the Mets, it's Junior Kennedy. Added into the lineup as a righty bat versus Twitchell, who's better against lefties. Kennedy, 47's a K. Clyde Mayshore, 33, skies the center. And with 2 outs, it's Rusty Staub. 2-8, triple 1-5, base hit for Rusty. Lee Lacy. 2-7, a base hit to right field. Rusty will not get thrown out at third. 2 on, 2 outs for Tony Soleta. 48 off Twitchell, flies the center. Top of the second inning here. It's Mike Schmidt. 56, walks off the Blair card. Ace stealer. Probably don't want to steal when this guy walks so many batters. That's one of the thoughts the Mets had when they put Jerry Grody on the bench. They said, we don't think the Phillies are going to steal so much when they can draw walks off our guy, Blair, for better or worse. So Schmidt will stay at first. For the lefty, Jay Johnstone. 66, it's single 1-15 and gets it. 2 on for Gary Maddox. 37's a K. Gary Thomason, 5'10", catcher's X. This is Tim Blackwell. Gets the start today. It's a pass ball. Second and third. The runners move up on the pass ball. There's 2 outs. It's Walt Williams. And 2-10, it's a single chance. 1-3, and he cannot collect that. He lines out. Bottom of 2, it's Terry Harmon Carden, 59, short X. This is Boa, 1-14. 1-12, excuse me. Harrelson's the 1-14. John Milner, 111, third. Harrelson, 1-4, center field. Scoreless into the third, low scoring series. Denny Doyle, 46. He walks off the Blair card. The first, second in 2 innings. Larry Boa, 53. First C, runner in scoring position for Bob Boone, not McCarver. Bob Boone lines the third. With 2 outs now, it'll be Luzinski. 37, you walked him. 2 on, 2 outs for Michael Jack Schmidt. 55 off of Blair, yet it's double 1-10 fly ball, and he can't catch it on a 12. So that is why Blair was taken. He really dominates, as a starter 7, really dominates right-handed batters, and for this one small sample card. So double 1-10, that is absolutely huge. That's a 2-run double taken off the board by a 12 there. And a big break for Blair, who survives 3. He will be monitored really closely by the Mets as we, in an elimination game, they're going to need their bullpen today, predictably, unless they get an offensive onslaught against Twitchell. Number 9 hitter, Blackwell. 37 flies to center. Back up top to Junior Kennedy. 3-8 is a walk. Why? He's leading off because of the walks. Clyde Mayshore. 39 a K. And with 2 outs, it's Rusty Staub. Singled his first time up. 4-12 flies to left. Mets have not scored in the series. Not a good look. Into the 4th. Jay Johnstone. 39 is a walk. He's got to be held on for Gary Maddox. 2-3 is a 5-4-3 double play. Another break for Blair. Gary Thomason. 56, double 1-7. There's a double. But there's no base runner to knock in with that double. Walt Williams. 32 pops to short. Blair survives 4. Base runners are there, but he survived 4 shutout innings. It'll be Lee Lacy leading off for the Mets here. 38, single 1-13, gets it. Tony Soleta. 2-9. Let's take a look at the Tony Soleta card. He was a Kansas City Royal in 75, but he was a redundancy there. Doing similar stuff to their all-star John Mayberry, a left-handed hitting, slick fielding first baseman with plenty of power. So he had a hard time getting plate appearances. So the Mets went out and got him. Said, boy, we could use a John Mayberry clone, sorta. And so they got Saleda in arguably the best year of his career. 16 homers and 231 at-bats. That's fantastic. 2-9, two-run bomb. He's the best pure power hitter on the Mets, the closest rival to Luzinski and Schmidt on the Phillies. And the Mets are up 2-0. Terry Harmon, 54 center. John Milner, 3.6 is a K, and with 2 outs. Bud Harrelson, 56 is a K. Now, if you're the Mets, you got to say, how far do you lean on Blair? You know, do you need him to get the win today? Do you rely on a deep bullpen, which no longer has Tug McGraw, who's across the field in the other dugout now? We'll see. Here in the 5th. Leading off is Denny Doyle. 66 is single one of 15 off the Blair card. Gets it. Back up top to Larry Boa. 2-6 is a pop to short. Bob Boone. 1-3. Let's take a look at the Bob Boone card. This is fortuitous for the Phillies. Was not scheduled to start today. Bob Boone at 73. He played 560 plate appearances. Has an injury on 12 as well, which is rare for catchers, meaning that you could play him every day if you wanted to. The throwing arm is not here yet. It will arrive soon. But he hit 261 with 10 home runs, most against righties. 1-3, homer 1 to 16. It is gone, and we have a tie game. Tough break for Dennis Blair and the Mets. An injury set that up. And a right-handed batter hits the homer off of Blair, but it's not off Blair's card. Not a lot you can do. Real bad break there for the Mets. All right, with 1 out and a 2-2 tie, it's Greg Luzinski. Got to shake it off. 67 is a pop to short, and with 2 outs, Mike Schmidt. 48, second X. It's Harmon. He's a 327. He cannot make a play. It's an error. And it's a lefty. Jay Johnstone. 58, second X again. And another hit through Harmon. Acquired from the Phillies in the offseason. Which uniform is he wearing? So Terry Harmon, after 2 outs, gives up an error. And then a single. They're on the corners for a 330 hitter. Let's take a look at Gary Maddox. They moved him down to the middle of the lineup today for RBI potential against Blair. Moreover, because they like to load up top with the lefties to reach Blair. But 76 is the best year of Gary Maddox's career, hitting 330, Gold Glover in center. Big moment here in this game. Can Dennis Blair shake off this recent spate of bad luck? Here's the pitch to Gary Maddox. 49, short X. Now this is Bud Harrelson. This surely should be an out, and it is. So once again, whenever the Mets need a rescue, it's Harrelson. Whenever the Phillies need a rescue, it's Boa. And that is the end of the inning. It's a 2-2 game. Well, there you go, folks. We knew this was going to be... Now, it's going to be kind of brutal seeing one of these teams say goodbye, either today or tomorrow. We like these teams. We can't get both into the playoffs. Bottom of the 5th from New York. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
All right, Twitchell is a starter 8. They would lean on him to go deep. They like him. We'll see how it goes. Leading off is Tim Blackwell. 1-6, flies to right. Back up top to Junior Kennedy. 47 is a K, and with 2 outs, Mayshore. 211 flies to left. This is not what the Mets were thinking they would be producing offensively in the series. 2-2 game into the 6th. Favors the Phils. It's Gary Thomason. 68 pops to short. Walt Williams, 53. Comebacker to the mound. And Denny Doyle. 54 off the Blair card. It's homer 1-3 double. It's a homer if you have power, so it's good luck for Blair because Doyle doesn't have it. So instead of it being a double, it's a single. It's the best case scenario. Runner at first for Larry Boa. 2-7 for Boa is a pop to third. 6 really nice innings for Dennis Blair. Bottom of the 6th, here's Rusty Staub. 2-5 rolls to first. Lee Lacy, 32, pops to short. And Tony Soleta, the fans are on their feet for their free agent find. 6-11, first X. First baseman is Gary Thomason. He's a 3E22. Gives up a single. And by the way, the Phillies, they would have liked Soleta as well. They had a hole at first. They lost Darren Johnson. They lost Willie Montanez. They didn't get Tom Hutton. So they had McCarver and Taylor a year ago. McCarver at catcher, but can also play some first. And so they found Thomason, but his defense isn't very good. Soleta reaches, and it's Terry Harmon. And there's some boos here in Shea Stadium after, well, he didn't blow the 5th inning. He could have, though. Here's your pitch to newly acquired Terry Harmon, former Philly. 1-9! Let's take a look at the Harmon card. This is why they made the McGraw trade. It's a trade that, in the short term, Mets win the trade. Long term, Phillies win the trade. So in return, they picked up a starting second baseman, Terry Harmon, who it's $295. He would only be a utility player, but the Mets can play him full time because with the great batting average. They picked up Max Garcia in the bullpen and a draft pick, all from McGraw, who's good. He wasn't really going to be good with the Mets anymore, but he would be good with the Phillies. Phillies will ultimately win this trade by the end of the 70s, early 80s, when he's, of course, on that World Series team, and Harmon and Scarce are gone. With all that, 1-9, Terry Harmon hits a double to center field. You got to run Soleta, or do you? He's a 9. At least he's not an 8. I have a rule that I almost don't run 8s attempting to score from first on a double, but he's a 9. I can break the rule in an elimination game if I want. He's a 9, 10, 11, but you got a -2 in Maddox, and you got John Milner on deck, and it's 2-2. Not losing the game, chance to get a run anyway, or 2 or 3 if you don't get thrown out at the plate here. So they're going to put the brakes on the slow-footed Soleta. They're going to put the brakes on. They're going to be ambitious here, attempting to get a big hit or a walk to load the bases, or a home run to get a big 3-run lead. And here it is, John Milner. 39 for Milner. He comes through. Let's take a look at the Milner card. It was the right call for the Mets, holding him up. In 73, Milner has 23 homers, but only hits .239. The walks help get a reasonable on-base percentage. Not a guy who would normally score runners without a home run. However, this particular time, it's exactly what he got. He got a 3-9, which is double 1-3, single ... Actually catches the double as well, puts himself in scoring position. It's a 4-2 game, Mets. He's also a good base runner. He's a 15. He's at second for Bud Harrelson. 48 off Twitchell, flies to center. Now the Dennis Blair evaluation. He is, I think emphatically, he cannot lose the game. He puts 2 base runners on in the 7th inning. He can be pulled. Worst case, no decision. Moreover, you got the right-handed batting Boone. Even though he got the homer, he's still right-handed. You got righty Boone, righty Lazinski, righty Schmidt. If 2 reach, he'll be pulled. Otherwise, they're going to lean on Blair. It's his breaking inning anyway, a starter 7. This is what appealed to the Mets, him being a starter 7. Joining Kuzman and Matlack and Seaver as starter 8s and 9s. So this is paying off now, suddenly, for the Mets. Bob Boone will lead off in the 7th. Do the Mets actually decide to improve their defense before they take the field? You can still do that here. And I'm saying they can make wholesale changes, and they will. Grody will go behind the plate to deter any base stealing. Wayne Garrett will take over at third base, better defensively. And Don Hahn will certainly improve the defense in center field. He'll go in for Milner, who did what he needed to do with a 2-run hit. Mayshore goes to left. They've improved 4 positions defensively with 9 outs to get. Bob Boone will lead off. 3-11 pops to short. Luzinski. 5-11. Pitcher X. Blair, can you field your position? No. That's a shame. He's an E38. Ouch. That could hurt the team. Need a break here. They get a break. They get a ground ball C. So you didn't roll the enormous E rating opportunity. You rolled something other than that and got the ground ball C. That's a huge lucky break for Dennis Blair. Should have been an error. And with 2 outs, it's Mike Schmidt. 48, second X, and here is Harmon, a chance to redeem himself defensively. The 3 second baseman makes the play. All in all, good gig for the Mets. They have a 4-2 lead. Stretch time. Here in Shea Stadium, we're enjoying this special, the Velvet Underground people. I got a collection of Lou Reed, John Cale, Velvet stuff from a bunch of different records. We got a Foggy Notion playing here. We got the whole VU collection in here. We got some really good live stuff. We got some of Nico's solo stuff in here. We got John Cale's 2 great LPs. Vintage Violence is one of them, and Paris 1919 the other in this mix. Of course, we got Lou's Walk on the Wild Side, Satellite of Love LP in here, Rock and Roll, Sweet Jane. Of course, you have the Coney Island Baby, and the first one, the Fabergé Egg LP. Yeah, they just put this on shuffle. Yeah, great stuff. New York hustle. And the New Yorkers trying to hustle the Phils out of Shea Stadium here. Bottom of the 7th inning. Leading off will be Jerry Grody, now in the 9 spot. 5-11, second X. Doyle's a 2E14 at second base. Makes the play. Back up top. Now it's Wayne Garrett up in his usual spot up top there. 46. He strikes out. And with 2 outs, it's Clyde Mayshore. 66. Double one off Twitchell. One of the rare times they got a hit off the Twitchell card. And Rusty Staub. 1-9 is a walk. Big moment here. It's Lee Lacy versus Twitchell. There's a mound visit. You like to get Lacy out. Lacy is a 300 hitter. Do you have a pitcher, a righty who dominates righties? They do have Garber. They're going to make the move. They're going to pull Twitchell after 6 2/3. They want a better pitcher against Lacy. They're going to go Gene Garber here. Gene Garber started with Kansas City, ended up with Philadelphia, then Atlanta. In 74 with the Phillies, 4-0, 2.06 ERA. Does walk batters. There would be a base open if there was a walk in this situation. But Gene Garber is brought in the 7th to face Lee Lacy, a free agent in his own, acquired from the Dodgers. Here's the pitch to Lee Lacy. 1-5, grounds to short. All right. Can't add any more runs. Blair into the 8th. Now it's lefty, righty, lefty. Do you be proactive? I think you do. I think you got to go after these guys. I think Blair is pulled after 7. I mean, you got everything you could ask for him, even the bad break homer to Boone. But you got to win this game. You can't be fancy and just reward a pitcher when the matchups don't look that good. They're going to go to the lefty now. This is an opportunity to start getting lefty Phillies out of the game if possible. Johnstone, Thomason, Doyle, all up in the top 5 batters here. And now the Phillies, do you go to the bench for Johnstone, Thomason? On the Philly bench, you got Tony Taylor, John Jeter. That's all you have because of the injury. So you only have 2 pinch hitters, which means Johnstone and Thomason could exit the game. And then that's it. Then you'd have to stay with all the other guys. I think they do it. I think they're going to do this. Have to take advantage with only 6 outs left with the matchup. And so they're going to go to Jeter now instead of Taylor because they're down 2. So John Jeter is the pinch hitter for Jay Johnstone, an outfielder for an outfielder. Let's take a look at John Jeter. Jeter has had some moments here on YouTube. He had a big 5-hit game once. Stats don't show that. He is only a .241 hitter. Good defensive outfielder. Was brought in to be defense and hit lefties, but has actually outplayed that this year in helping the Phillies. So it'll be Scarsay. Did we look at his card? Let's take a look at Scarsay's card as well. Max Scarsay, or Scarce, I don't know how it was pronounced. In 73, 1-8, 2.41 ERA, in 71 innings. Relief 3. Walks some guys, doesn't give up long ball. Has a 2-run lead. He'll face John Jeter. Here in the top of the 8th inning. Here is the pitch to Jeter. 67 is a K. Now you got Gary Maddox. 38 is a K, and with 2 outs is Thomason, and batting for him will be Tony Taylor. And that'll empty both benches for both clubs. Do you even pitch to Tony Taylor? Let's take a look at Taylor's card. Yeah, he's a wrecking crew. Was a pinch hitter for the Phillies in 1974, hitting .328. Destroys lefties. Plus you have Williams with power on deck. Do you allow the runner to reach this easily, or do you get 4 outs in another way? I think you go 4 outs another way. I think it's going to pull him now. You got a 2-run lead. You need 4 outs to force a game 3. Apotica has had plenty of rest, actually. They're going to go to their closer, Bob Apotica. In 76, Apotica 3-7 with a 2.80 ERA in 90 innings, one of his best years. He's a relief 3, starter 6, really dominates those right-handed batters, of which the Phillies are going to have, 6 in their lineup the rest of the way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 the rest of the way. So Apotica comes on in the 8th to try and get 4 more outs. Tony Taylor. Here's the pitch to Tony Taylor. 46 is Short X, and this is Mr. Harrelson. I almost said Mr. Boa. I get them so mixed up. Switch hitting Gold Glove shortstops. He makes the play, and the inning's over. Bottom of the 8th, Garber will continue. It's Soleta. Because behind him, you have righty-righty. Yellow pitch to Soleta. Could be a mistake. 62, second X. This is Doyle. 2E14 makes the play. Terry Harmon's not saying. 2-3, grounds are short. And Don Hahn, 65, right field. We go to the 9th. Mets fans are on their feet. This is playing to the chalk. We thought we were going to get something like this, and so far, unless we have a shocking 9th inning, we are on course for a game 163, you could say. Walt Williams leads off in the 9th for the Phillies. 37 is a sky to center field. It's Denny Doyle. 52 rolls back to the mound. And with 2 outs, it's Larry Boa. 1-8. Oh, you hit his power roll. Triple 1 9. It's a triple. That doesn't really matter that much. They're down 2. And now it comes down to Bob Boone, the offense to this point. A 2-run homer on his own card. He can get a homer off the Apotica card as well on 10. So, we would call this the Bob Boone game if he supplies all the offense. Here's your pitch to Bob Boone. 47 off Apotica is a strikeout, and that is your ball game. 2 nicely played games, 2 2-run affairs, or 3-run affair in the first one. And we get what we thought we were going to get, folks. We're going to have a rubber match, a best of 3. It will be that way. And that bodes well for the home team thus far in this series. Dennis Blair gets the win. And the loss, Twitchell was good gets a loss. Apotica gets a save. Now, as far as the Mets going on the road, guess what? They're going to have a little bit of road field advantage because they have Mr. Seaver. They have Tom Seaver in the game on the road, back in the vet. And the Phillies are going to have to move down into their rotation. They've already used the Carlton and their Kuzman. Excuse me. They already used the Carlton and the Twitchell. Now they got to go to Pat Dobson in Game 3, who's actually pretty good for the Yankees in '74. He was a free agent. 19-game winner. Also, of course, won 20 games with Baltimore in '71. Seaver Dobson set up for a Game 3. We'll give you the box score of this game and the results of Game 3 after the break. Stay tuned. Well, folks, we got a lot to talk about, and not a lot of it will be good. Here's your box score of Game 2. This is Dennis Blair's very effective start. 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts. Apotica gets the final 4 outs. A very clean and well-played game. Bob Boone, a 2-run homer for the Phillies, the only offense. A 2-run homer by Soleta, and a 2-run double by Milner. So very similar to Game 1, which sets up a rubber match in Philadelphia, and on paper it looks like it's going to be a great one. It's going to be Tom Seaver, of course, for the Mets, on the road in a winner-take-all game versus Pat Dobson, who was a very good pitcher for Baltimore, and then he moved to the Yankees. It was still a good pitcher. He was sent to Philadelphia in the Grant Jackson trade from Baltimore, is what we did. But this is almost a sickening display of baseball in Game 3. Let's go through the Tom Seaver portion of the game. Tom Seaver pitches very well today. Of course he would. He puts men on. He gets out of the jams. 6 scoreless innings, and then he gets some runs in the 7th. Let's pause right there for a moment. Let's go back to the early in the game. Second inning, the first run of the game is a Lee Lacy homer for the Mets. It's 1-zip. Actually, I'm going to go back to the bottom of the first inning for a scenario at least. And this is fictional. I'm just kind of reading within the tea leaves on this one. With 2 outs and runners at first and second, Gary Thomason hits a ground ball to Harrelson at short. He makes a throw to first that pulls Soleta off the bag, but Gary Thomason charges inside the line, collides with him, the ball ricochets off, rolls into the dugout, a runner scores, the runners advance 2 bases, but then the umpires huddle up and the players aren't happy, and they're like staring at each other. They ruled that Thomason was called out for running into the baseline, and the inning ends with no more advancement or scoring. And it's already bad blood early in this thing, and this thing's going to go forever, folks, trust me. So I said Lacy gets that homer in the second. Harmon gets a double, scores on a Harrelson single. 2-0 lead for the Mets, and it's like, okay, this is an advantage for Tom Seaver and company. It will get worse for the Phillies in the 4th. You get a leadoff triple for Soleta. RBI single Harmon. Milner singles. Grody singles. A walk to Garrett. And then the Phillies decide we cannot afford any more damage if you really think you can beat Tom Seaver. You don't want to lose this pivotal game this early. So they make a pitching change. They go to the lefty Barber with some lefties and a righty coming up. It's Clyde Mayshore. He was an Expo free agent. He's not very good against left-handed pitching, but he's got power and a homer on his card. Off of Steve Barber, he gets it. It's a 3-run home run, and there's more coming in this inning. Rusty Staub doubles. You get another Soleta doubles. They send 10, 11, 12, 13 men to the plate. The writing is on the wall. The Mets explode and batter the Phillies with a 10-0 lead, and this thing is over. Well, pretty much it is over, folks. We'll just flash forward to the 7th inning when the Phillies, seemingly, it looks like they're just putting some garbage runs on the board. Gary Thomason, solo shot, make it 10-1. Walt Williams double, Boa single, McCarver single. There's a pass ball in there. Okay. Seaver leaves after giving up 3 runs. Only 2 are earned. It's a 10-3 game, but you're thinking the game is still over. Top of the 8th inning. By this time, the Phillies are into their 4th reliever. It's Acosta. You get a leadoff single by Grody. You get another single by Junior Kennedy. Rusty Staub, 3-run homer to pound on insult to injury. It's 13-3. And this game should be over. Seaver's in the dugout cooling off with a 10-run lead and 6 outs to get, so they go to Don Carruthers in the bottom of the 8th. Well, after an out, he gives up a walk to Lazinski. He gives up a single to Thomason, a walk to Schmidt, a single to Williams, a 2-run triple to Larry Boa, an RBI single to Maddox. The Phillies bat around after the Mets batted around there and batted around earlier. A 13-3 game turns into a 13-8 game. So with them within 5 in this ridiculous embarrassment of ruining my league ERA, they go to Tug McGraw in the 9th inning to get the final 3 outs and see if they can make a highly unlikely comeback down 5 in the 9th. Well, guess what, folks? Tug McGraw gets battered, bruised, and destroyed by his former team trying to get 3 outs in the 9th inning. I don't even know who led off in this mess. Let's see. Grody had a hit in the 9th inning. Don Hahn led off the 9th. He had 2 doubles in the 9th inning. They send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 batters to the plate. Bat around for the 3rd time in the game. They actually pull McGraw and they bring in Gene Garber just to get the final out. It's 21-8. Can this horrible game end? There have been brawls. There have been fans throwing stuff on the field. Nope. Harry Parker with a 13-run lead comes on in the bottom of the 9th. Again, I don't know who leads off. I believe it is, yes, it's Johnstone who leads off. He flies out. Then Lazinski singles, Thomason singles, Schmidt singles, Williams singles. Boa fouls out. It's a 2-run double by McCarver. It's a 2-run double by Gary Maddox. And then Denny Doyle lines out to end this abomination of pitching where there really shouldn't have been an abomination of pitching. Let's start with Seaver. 7 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, only 2 earned, and a quality start victory. Carruthers an inning, 5 earned runs. Parker an inning, 5 earned runs. All right, now the destruction of the Philadelphia Philly pitching staff and a total meltdown of the Phillies. We'll get through all this, folks. It's a complete and total meltdown of the Phillies. Dobson, 3 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 8 runs, 2 walks, 2 Ks. Followed up by Barber, 2 2/3 innings, 5 hits, and 3 runs. Followed up by Acosta, 2 innings, 4 hits, and 3 runs. And lastly, let's skip the Garber who got the final out. Just 1 out, that was it. But prior to that, here you go. This is what you've been waiting for. Tug McGraw, 2/3 of an inning, 7 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Here's your final lines. The Mets, 21 runs, 24 hits, and 5 walks. They've reached base 29 times, plus an error or 2. The Phillies, 13 runs, 16 hits, 3 walks. They've reached base 19 times. 1009, 0109, 2114, 1316. 5636. Looking at the big picture here, let's start with the guys with 4 hits. Former Philly, Terry Harmon, 4 for 6, 3 runs scored, 4 RBI. Now the guys with 3 hits. Rusty Staub, 3 for 5, 4 RBI. Now the guys with 4 RBIs. Clyde Mayshore, a grand slam, 4 RBIs. Every Met had a hit. Every Met on the bench had a hit. Every batter employed by the New York Mets had a hit today. Garrett, 2. Mayshore, 1. Staub, 3. Lacey, 2. Saleta, 3. Harmon, 4. Milner, 1. Harrelson, 2. Blackwell, 1. Grody, 2. Kennedy, 1. Oh, yeah, and Don Hahn, he got 2 doubles in the 9th inning. So that's all 12 of the Mets hitters got 24 hits in this game. By the way, the Philly bench just sat on the bench and witnessed and watched and probably glad they weren't asked to play in this just troublesome, horrible, horrible baseball game that ultimately ends a Philly historic collapse. You thought Gene Mauch was bad? You thought Gene Mauch was bad? I mean, I know it's just 2-1, but let's look at the big picture for the Phillies. Let's go to the tournament results. So your Philadelphia Phillies in this tournament. First round, they lost 5 of 7. So they start 2-5, losing 5 of 7 to the Braves. They're 2-5. They get swept 3 straight here. Right there to the, here it is, the matchup with the Reds. They lose 3 straight there. They're 2-8. They're 3-9 overall. And the 3-9 has the Phillies missing the playoffs altogether at 22-18. My goodness. So the Giants and Phillies, teams that we wrote, we already gave them their playoff invitations, back in June. The Giants, they barely missed the playoffs. Phillies just faded away in a catastrophic way, and statistically just ruined their stats for the year. Unbelievable finish. Mets win the series 2-1. Now, all sorts of seeding switches occur. It has a lot to do with tiebreakers, winning percentage. Let's start from the top and say, well, the Reds are the number 1 seed. Let's go to the bottom. Arizona's number 4 seed. In between, Dodgers get the number 2 bye over the Mets with a strength of schedule tiebreaker in that the West teams beat up the East teams a little bit more. And the other tiebreaker involved between the Braves and Pirates at wild card, Braves get the East gets the tiebreaker, as the Braves handle the Cardinals and the Mets handle the Pirates. It sets up juicy rematch though. So with the Mets getting into the wild card round, remember the Mets were the worst team. They were sitting at the 8 or 9 spot, and they win a division, and they get the number 3 seed. That's all right. They get a rematch with the Pirates in the wild card round. They beat the Pirates 4 out of 5 last time they played. Recency bias should play out well for the Mets. Braves go against intriguing, is the least thing we could say about the Arizona Diamondbacks, a team who started the year 0-10. Now think about that. We're only playing 35 games. 0-10, they win the division. Imagine if your Major League Baseball team you're following right now started the year 0-10. Are you going to the playoffs? Are you finishing 500? Are you going to win your division? This Arizona Diamondbacks team has done that. They will host Atlanta, your Reds, and the Dodgers. You're talking about the 1974 World Series runner-up. Let's look at them all. Mets, 1973 World Series runner-up. Dodgers, 74 runner-up. And the 75 and 76 champs. All here, joined by a great Pirates team and one of the 8 expansion teams who is the wild card, the Cinderella story in the National League in your playoffs. Moreover, you got the Dodgers and the Reds with byes, something that would not have happened if they were in the same division, of course. Moreover, you didn't have extra playoff teams. You only had 2 playoff teams back in that era, but we separated the Reds out from the National League West, but they could meet very well in the League Championship Series. Or the Pirates and the Reds could meet. Or the Mets and the Reds. The Mets won the NLCS in 73. They could play the Reds. And then you have the 73 Brave offense and 74 Brave pitching staff. What a wild playoff bit. So with that, we'll do an elimination of Philly video coming up soon. And then the playoffs will begin. The playoffs will be here soon. So check out that. Again, as always, thanks for checking out this channel. We appreciate all the views, and we will see you next time.